Hello and welcome back to an Anchor Up devlog. Anchor Up is a puzzle strategy game where the weapons you choose and where you place them on your boat are all part of that puzzle. I've been working on Anchor Up for a year now, but now that my exams are over with, I can work on this full time up until the release date of August 31st. This week we'll be covering a completed new location, explosive barrels, minecarts and boss battle with that. We'll also be covering 2 new weapons and another new location which I've only just started, procedural boat stuck animations, improved nighttime levels, and a bonus music sample for that boss I mentioned earlier. So the first thing that I got to work on was modelling the new environment for the desert stage, which included cacti, dead bush and a new island that could be flatter, kind of mimicking dunes of a desert, and then I imported that all into Unity and set out creating the new island. Overall, this is how the new look turned out and will be present for the next 5 levels. Also, at the end of last week's boss battle you unlocked the Dragon Skull, which shoots out a fireball and explodes after 3 turns, so it can be used to take out multiple enemies at once if you are able to put yourself at the right distance. The start of this level is used to teach the player just that. In a similar demolition vein, I decided to add in explosive barrels, using much the same kind of effects code as the actual fireball. I kind of altered the regular barrel, so on its destroy function it loops around the 4 squares around it and will blow up those, and that works between barrels themselves, so groups of barrels can explode just by igniting one of them. I then got to work on minecarts, which I thought would suit the desert/canyon environment quite well. These are essentially environmental weapons that can move either in a straight line or in a loop depending on the layout of the track. This means the player also has to predict the cart's location in advance of its shot in order to avoid any fatal attacks. I've also tried to make their system as dynamic as possible, so that way they can have different weapons attached to them, they can have different tracks, they can move, they can either flip when like they hit a wall, things like that, so that way they can be put in all sorts of situations. For example, in this level, I've tried to mix the explosive barrels and the minecarts in the same one, so you've got to avoid the explosions that will come from the cannon actually firing at them. So as you can see, that might be quite difficult for what at this point in the game is actually quite late on. So I'm hoping that this will add some extra challenge. Because this is a type of collect level, enemies will spawn in over time, and while they're there they'll drop even more explosive barrels that the player will need to dodge. For the boss battle for this stage, I decided to have a pharaoh. This would stand at the back of the arena and slam down its staff/spear to then remove a bit of cover from the arena. So what this would mean is when ships spawn in over time, the player is left more and more vulnerable as there are less objects for them to hide behind. After importing this into Unity and arranging things around a bit, this is what the overall boss battle looked like. I also switched from a yellow and blue aesthetic to a black and orange one, as this looked more threatening, and as you can see, the turn before he slams down his staff, he'll raise it up a bit just to warn the player about what's about to happen, and then he'll slam it down and orange sparks will be emitted and a bit of cover will go down. If the player survives all 7 waves, then there'll be a little explosion at the base of his feet and he'll fall off the back of the island and stay in the abyss, something like that. I then went about changing some of the nighttime levels, including one that is actually in the desert, to just have a bit better lighting and different stars, and I also added in a moon. And the moon I think kind of adds quite an almost eerie vibe to it, because of the fact that I added this emission material on it so it looks like a full moon, which I think just kind of adds to the atmosphere. After finishing off those 5 levels, I decided to start a new section which would be set in the Arctic or some kind of snowy landscape. So I started modelling everything and making sure that on the tops of each model there was like a layer of just snow, just to keep the entire stage looking coherent. I then downloaded and installed Polybrush, which is a Unity tool for level design in which you can quite easily paint on prefabs, and this worked quite well for when I was doing the grass on the island. I also changed some of the parameters of the rain effect from previously in the game to make it look more like snow, just to add it into this section. I then also updated the models of the boats for this section to have snow on them, which took just ages to do because the order in which kind of Unity imports materials or Blender exports them, it kind of gets confused. So because of how the player's sales material is updated, it means that the snow could be the same material, which is just not what we want. After defeating the pharaoh, the player is rewarded with the explosive barrel placer, which can be used for puzzles like this on screen, and I'm thinking it can also be used for like destroying some environmental pieces. I've not added this in yet, but that's what I've got planned ahead. I also updated the main menu to have some islands in the background. Finally, here is part of the music that I've got planned ahead for the pharaoh boss battle. If you are interested in maybe getting this game when it comes out, there's a link to wishlist it on Steam in the description. I'm really thankful for anyone that has done this already. It really does mean a lot. I say it every devlog, but it's just because it's true. It really does mean a lot. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next devlog. Bye.